This is ukulele number 3 in my ukulele history. I did a video about it before. It's an Aria Baritone ukulele, and when I did that video, I explained that I had switched out the regular baritone D, G, B, E strings for regular tuning ukulele strings G, C, E, A, and I talked about how I didn't like it as much.
And then it sounded awful.
As much as it seemed to buzz and vibrate with the higher strings, and it's still. I'd say that part of that was my problem, not being used to the distance between the frets, but it still does a little buzzing, and so I've been thinking lately how it would be nice to have a bass ukulele. So I'm going to take this baritone ukulele and convert it to a bass. I've already bought the strings. I bought the pahoe hoe strings that a lot of the U-basses use, or a lot of people put on U-basses, and I'm going to remove these strings. I'm going to change out this bridge for a bridge with a piezo pickup in it, so there will be a pin jack in the end. I have purchased some new bass tuning pegs, and I'll be changing out the nut so that I can have big enough grooves in the nut to hold those fat bass strings. And I wanted to give you all one last look at it before I convert it. I think too, while I have all this stuff off of it, I don't really like the color or the finish of this. You can tell when you look at it in raking light that it's been sanded and then finished, and you can see the sanding marks. So I think I'm going to sand off this finish and repaint it, have something a little different. I've sanded this thing down all around, and I made some changes to the shape of the top. I never really liked those crown shapes, so I took that off. And I've been filling in holes, not using wood putty because I don't have any, so I've been using this acrylic modeling paste, which is something I use for my artwork, filling in the holes on the back too. I've also drilled a hole for the end pin jack, which also has right here a built-in preamp, so this will have a preamp. I'll be needing to cut a hole somewhere, I think somewhere on the back, but I'm not sure, for the battery pack for the jack. And then I need to make these holes bigger to fit the bass tuning pins. That's about a 9/16 of an inch hole. I'm a little nervous because the drill bit I have is one of these things, and so I'm not sure what's going to happen as I try to make that bigger with this. So we'll see how it goes. If it goes poorly, I guess I'll have a major wood patching job to do. But I wanted to show those holes before I drilled them out. You can see where I've drawn the circles. That's how big the holes are going to be versus how big they actually are. Once that's done, I'll be ready to prime it. Here it is, ready to... I've got all the holes drilled in, and I've got this hole drilled for the bridge, this hole drilled for the jack and preamp. I've got this hole in the back cut for the battery holder. And I've enlarged these holes. I was not able to use the flat drill bit. I used this one and just sort of worked it around in the hole until I got it big enough to hold the tuning peg. And so now I'm going to give it a light sanding, and then I'm going to start painting it with this sparkle blue metallic spray paint. Oh yeah, and today I'm going to start working on, I'm going to use this piece of metal, brass, 24 gauge brass, to make a tailpiece, which is what the strings will attach to. I've finished the ukulele. I thought I'd show some things. My plans are all over the place. This is a tracing and of the ukulele body so that I could get measurements. This is the design of the tailpiece, plus a lot of other notes, and there's steps on the back. I've even got notes here where I measured the size of the strings and the holes I needed, and I measured them wrong and had to drill them again. Other notes on the other side, and I've probably got notes all over the place. I've even got you know, step-by-step notes. So let me tell you the process. So after I videoed last time, I spray painted the uke with a blue metallic paint. The next thing I did was to install the end jack. I couldn't figure out how I was going to do it because I can't get my hand in this hole, and I did have a hole back here, but I couldn't get my hand in this hole. And it came to me that I could tie a string to it, so I tied a string to the end jack, the jack. I got it through this hole, and then using this hole, got the string through this hole, and then I was able to pull it through and attach it. And the way I got the measurement for the other side, I found this thing online. I took a paper clip and I bent it, and I stuck the clip in the hole and then pushed this foam up against the end of the uke until I got the measurement. And so I knew how to adjust the nut on the inside part of the jack, and then I was able to screw down the nut on the outside. So that was the first thing I did. Actually, before I did that, I threaded the wire of the bridge, because there's a piezo pickup under this bridge, through and plugged it in to the jack, and I also threaded the 9-volt battery attachment out through this hole so that I could work with those things. So I got the jack in first. The next thing I did was I glued down the nut, and I used cyanoacrylate. Then I built this tail piece, which was it's a little rough, but I fit it around the jack, and I shaped it so that it's curved here, and I drilled the holes here that would fit the strings, and then I glued down the bridge, and I used cyanoacrylate again, and then I attached the tuning pegs, and they didn't fit, so I bought some O-rings, and you can see the O-ring here. It actually blends in really well with these really fat, weird strings. And then I attached the strings and stretched them, and they were really, I didn't realize how hard these would be to stretch. The instructions that come with the strings suggest that you stretch them almost to the correct note, and so you've got to pull them up and then seat them in the tuning pins while you're fighting with this tension, and it was really hard. And I finally I got them between my legs, and then I'm pulling up. I was sitting on the couch and just pulling and pulling and pulling, and then playing this at the same time, trying to get to the right note, and finally got it in. And you can see that even after that, as I've wound them to the proper tune, this is getting pretty thick up here, especially on the D string. It's starting to overlap itself. And then the big E string was so fat I couldn't fit it in there, so I took a file and filed the top part into kind of a V shape so that I could start to wedge it down in and push it down. And then there was a point where I had to attach the battery pack, and this just pops out. So there's the battery pack. I got the tuning pegs from China. I had the nut already. I bought the strings. I just went online and searched for the cheapest I could find, which still wasn't really cheap. I think I paid about $30. I got the bridge from CB Giddy, who sells supplies for cigar box ukuleles. I got the end jack from CB Giddy, and I got the battery pack from CB Giddy. I bought the metal for the tailpiece from onlinemetals.com, but it's an acoustic electric bass ukulele. I think it looks pretty cool.